Hey, Adam,
Jeez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they're called bumpers, Gary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning, at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that sweet logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sweet Talk, our weekly podcast here at Idaho State University's Continuing Education and Workforce Training. I am Paul Dickey, what am I, Gary?
You're the
video instruction manager and apprenticeship coordinator here at
Part of the
Sweet.
Three Bald Guys.
Three bald guys. And as always, joining me is Gary Salazar, our director, and we are having a wonderful Friday morning this morning.
Yeah, it is awesome, Paul. Thank you so much. Yeah, really great setup here. You know, we are on Friday, everybody, and this has been a long week, a lot of things going on. As you can tell, we're already lapsing into the weekend, but looking forward to it. Everybody, welcome. We're going to have another fantastic podcast today. Angela Wilhelm, our marketing coordinator, is with us. Angela, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's been a long week, so I'm very happy it's Friday. We have some wonderful weather ahead. How are you, Gary?
I'm doing great. We've had some rain here the other day, but yeah, it's a little bit more of that's coming. Fantastic feeling today. We have a wonderful podcast guest with us. Some of you have seen him before. Many of you know him as our business consultant. This is the esteemed Scott Stevens, who does an amazing job for us, driving business our way, workforce training stuff. We're going to talk today with him about customized training, which is what a big part of Sweet is all about. So thank you, Scott, for joining us today. I know things are getting busy. As we were chatting before, you're preparing all the kids to get ready to go to school. That's just around the corner for all of us. Thank you for making the time to be on Sweet Talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's like you said, it's been like for whatever reason, right before fall is the busiest time in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like last night I went to a scrimmage. My son's playing tackle football for the first time, and like I went to a scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. Like he did pretty good, but he played a little quarterback, and his best buddy missed the block, made a good lookout block. Just got mushed.
Oh
no.
Yeah, he got hit pretty hard, and like he was like, man, his first introduction to getting hit, and
yeah.
He's doing good this morning. I was like, how are you feeling? He's like, I'm feeling okay. It's my neck. So
yeah. Oh, I'm glad he's better. I'm glad he's okay. I mean, that's a real fun sport. I used to be on the other side, and I love trying to get to that quarterback. So I understand a little bit about the game. But take care with that. Yeah. So, hey, we're all busy today. Scott, we're going to talk a little bit about the workforce training and the business consulting and everything that you do with customized training. So would you be able to kind of give us an introduction to the scope of things that you cover, and then we'll get into maybe some specifics.
Yeah, you bet. Like maybe it might be kind of fun just to talk a little bit about like how and what happened that I came into this position.
Excellent.
And then kind of talk a little bit about like, yeah, kind of what we do. But it was about 8 years ago. I was a consultant. I worked as a consultant for a consultancy company, kind of an international company that did we called it performance management coaching, where we shadowed people and we taught that, we not people. That sounds a little creepy. We shadowed like leaders in different organizations and help them be better leaders during their time, not rather than giving like a talk, or giving trainings, if you will, but like during their time. And we got it was kind of a fun gig, it'd be stressful and stuff, but as things go in consulting, you have a gig for 2 years here, a year and a half there. And we finished up a gig in Virginia, and the next opportunity was not living in Alaska, but was up in Alaska, and they were going to have me commute back and forth.
Oh,
And my wife's like, that doesn't sound like a fun time for me living in Virginia by myself. When we just had our second kid and stuff. And so we decided to move back here. And as things go, like I ended up things just didn't work out in that second hitch. And so I started looking for an opportunity, and I found one here at Idaho State. It kind of took a while. I hung my shingle as a consultant locally. I got different businesses and kind of helped them and optimize their processes and stuff. And that was fun. But it was also, it was just nice to be able to find a home here at Idaho State University. And so for like the last 8 years, I've been working here, and like I got hired. And the day I got hired, I met with, or my first day of work, I met with the Department of Labor, and they were lamenting. They just come out of a meeting, like the Department of Labor. I can't remember her name, what her position is, but like regional manager or something like that. She'd just coming out of a meeting with a bunch of like employers, and they were all lamenting that their workforce wasn't working as hard as they wanted them to work. Like there was a motivational problem, and my ears were put, on fire. I was like, oh man, I've got the antidote to this. Like I just finished working with this consulting company, and I was like, hey, what if we did something like this? This is what I used to do. And I would like to say, I want to say stupidly, but I can't think of a more articulate word to say it. But I like, hey, I was explaining it to them, and they're like, and like your predecessor, he looked at me, he's like, well, why, let's write a grant and have you do it here. And
Awesome.
like, I was like, oh, okay. And so long story short is that was my introduction to customized training, is bringing what I used to do as a consultant, bringing that, figuring out a way to put that together here in Southeast Idaho. And that was a really good jumping off point for me, because what was really cool about it is I got a chance to see 5 or 6 fabrication companies here locally, and some of the trials and struggles that they were having in motivation and training and like skills gaps. And again, it was just a really good jumping off to making things happen and understanding this position a little bit better.
Sure.
Hey-
Great
hey,
background.
Yeah. So, hey, Scott, for people who might not know, can you explain what customized training is, and what type, and maybe give a few examples of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So customized training is it's kind of unique. Like a lot of times businesses, they look at Idaho State University, and maybe just kind of taking a little holistic approach to this. A lot of people look at Idaho State University and they just think formal education, right? Bachelor's degrees, doctorates, master's degrees. They might understand a little bit about, say, the College of Technology, and understand some of the things that the College of Technology does, but they don't look at it as a training resource to the community. And it really is. And so with what we can do with customized training is we can take almost anything out of the university or the College of Technology, anything that's taught, and pull that out and put it into industry to be taught in industry. And we can customize it to fit the needs of industry. And that doesn't just mean the content, but it means the schedule. It
Right.
means just anything. We can tailor it to the needs of a business. And like a good example of this, welding is there's a big need for welders in the area. And the welding program at Idaho State University is a top tier welding program. Like they don't just teach the basics. Like they get into where they can get to where a lot of their graduates are going to the oil fields and doing pipe welding, which is extremely, extremely difficult, extremely precise, and like it takes a good 2.5 years to learn how to do it properly. And that's a lot of what these guys learn in the welding department, which is fantastic. But a lot of the needs locally for welding, I mentioned, like I was in fabrication shops when I first started. A lot of the need for welding locally is more structural welding, which it's difficult, but it's not quite maybe as what's the word I'm looking for, like I want to say robust or precision. Precision is necessary, but it doesn't take 2.5 years to learn how to do it effectively. It can be, you can learn how to do it, in a semester. And so there's been a couple of companies that have asked to be like, hey, could we do some customized training for our welding that's more focused on structural welding versus focused on, high level welding and stuff like that. But and as I say that, it reminds me though too of like, we've also done stainless steel welding, which again is a precision type welding for some of the food processing places in town. And it's been, it's a great great experience. That it's a great resource again, that if the guys just have some background in welding, we can put it together for them.
Right. Yeah, and that's fantastic. You do, it's all over the board is what I go. I mean, it's that specific trades type training for a company. It's leadership, organizational training. What you are working on and using the university resources for is just so broad, Scott. I think that's fascinating, and I agree with you. If we continue to market out the capacity of what you can drive, that only helps our community become richer and richer in the types of things they need to be more successful. That is a huge thing, and I don't think a lot of universities have that component. Angela, I'm sorry, you had a question.
I do have a question. I've worked with Scott for about a year now, and some of his customized training is really, as Gary said, broad. If you have employees that need to learn a certain software, he can help. If you want to teach them how to drive a certain type of tractor, he can help. But another thing Scott does is team building activities, one of which is called a Lego challenge.
Yeah.
So where some of his customized training might be weeks long, some of this leadership or kind of team building exercises aren't necessarily as in depth, or they don't need to take as much time away from your employees. Scott, can you take a minute to talk to us about some of those team building activities that you have for resources for employers?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe before I kind of get into that, just you guys have both hit on the broadness of customized training, and sometimes people are training in general, right? And like, I think people can get like, overwhelmed by the training. So one of the things that I've done is we've divided training up into categories. Like we look at training in 4 different distinct categories. One of that is we call it technical training, which is going to be like more welding, things that are coming out of the College of Technology. We have safety training, things that are going to be used, like, you can mix in like, say, maybe HR and stuff like that, but like things that are going to keep people safe, like OSHA. And then we have, we have health type training. A lot of that is, coordinated with the health director, the health coordinator in our office. And then lastly, we have, we call it corporate or leadership training that is, focused around team building, around leadership, around helping supervisors be able to motivate and help increase productivity of their employees. And there's a couple of those, but like you mentioned the Lego challenge, and it's one of my favorites. There's actually a story behind it. I don't know if it's a good story to tell here, but like this, the Lego challenge goes back to a couple of years ago. This is an interesting story, so bear with me. So when I first took this job, I'd made some really good friends when I was in the Army. And one of my friends, he left the Army and he got into home building. But while he was in the Army, he took a lot of classes in what's called Lean Six Sigma. And what that is it's a fancy word for just process improvement, like figuring out a process and then figuring out how to improve it to, increase efficiency and increase profit and things like that. So he took all of these ideas that he'd learned in the Army in these classes, and he applied it to his home building business. And he went from, within like a couple of years, like 3, maybe 4 years, he went from just building a house to like being like a major builder and like a very wealthy builder. Like he'd done very well for himself. And so I was really interested in what he was doing, and I wanted to see if I could help out here in Pocatello, help out, different businesses and increase their efficiency. And it was serendipitous that I ran into a guy, his name is Dave O'Connell, and he is actually a expert in Lean Six Sigma, and he teaches it all throughout the state, but he is his office is here at Idaho State University. He is in the business department. And we got talking about it, and I was explaining like how it affected like my good friend, and he's like, yeah, it makes total sense. And he had come up with what he called, we I don't even know if he called it the Lego challenge, or if maybe we like like talking to Paul, and like, but we had set this up for him a couple of times where it was really, we'd set it up with some major businesses in town, and it was just really effective. And what was effective about it was that it allows you to see the work experience from kind of a bird's eye view, kind of from a top down ability to see it. And, we mock up the work experience with Legos. We build these little tiny houses, and, we try to do it in an assembly line process, which is a process, right? And then we try to improve that process. And then we just add little bits of lean principles throughout the training to improve that process, to where at the beginning we have a certain amount of time to build a house, or as many houses as we can. And we barely can get one if we get one, but by the end of the training, we're building like 30 houses. And because we've just introduced all these great process improvement principles, and it just really, what's cool about it is it's fun. It's really fun. Like, people don't, you lose track of time. It takes 3 hours, but you lose track of time really fast because it's so much fun. But it's also like, it just gets everybody on the same page, and they start like, it just gives you that, I don't even know how to say it, like, employees start understanding why their bosses are adamant about certain things, and why they're so concerned about certain things. Like, it opens up their eyes a lot. And that, what I hear from bosses a lot, or supervisors or business owners, is a lot of times they're like, there's all this training for me as a boss, but where's the training for my employees to be better employees, right? Like, and not in a sense of like how to be a better, technical skill, of course, but like, showing up on time, being respectful, all those kind of things. He's like, where's that training? And so this is something that can help with that. It really does. It doesn't do it in a way of like, this is how you need to, robotically act or things, but it gives you like that vision of what's happening in the work environment and what your role plays in it. And so I really think it's one of the most effective programs we have. And so we work with Dave to do it, but we actually put together our own. Dave's so busy, he's traveling the state, so we actually put together our own Lego challenge that we can, that we have a little bit more control over scheduling for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good ideas and good adaptation, and another example of great collaboration across the university. That's one of the neat things that I like about what you do, Scott. It just invites participation from different areas, whether they're resources, or if somebody comes at you and says, can I get some training in this? And we don't presently offer it, you can go usually find some kind of a resource around the university somewhere that we might be able to do that. Going back to the earlier one about the welding, I mean, you get some good calls for that, and you work well with the welding shop with Lucas and the group over there. What a great tie-in that works for our community and gets people in to see what a university can also offer, and then gets people in front of, oh, hey, here's all these other things at the university. For me, it's one of those wonderful win-win solutions that just is broad enough and still is effective. Very, very simple in a way, but effective in helping somebody get what they want. I think it's a fantastic face to what we do here, and so awed at all the things that you can bring together and make happen. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm always at awe of the way that someone will approach Scott with a training desire, and then Scott will just find the resources to put that together for them so that they can get the product that they want. It's whatever comes down his path. It's always, because you never know, every business is unique, and they have their own desire for certain types of training, and they just come to you and say, can you provide this? And most times you go, yes, I will figure that out for you.
Yeah.
Probably a good chance we can. No, sometimes, Paul, sometimes that resource is you.
Sometimes it is.
I think I've loaded your plate a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Occasionally,
we have a good
occasionally.
team, right? We have a really good team. Like, just a quick story about that though. I'm full of stories. Like, that's what I like to do, tell stories. But like, this was like 3 or 4 years ago. Another fabrication company, they wanted to put in a paint booth in their shop, and they're like, "Do you know anything? Can you help us put together a paint booth?" I was like, maybe, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. Let me go back to College of Tech. They might have something. And it was just, again, serendipitous. I was sitting in a meeting. I think it was like an all school meeting. Like, we were in the tech cafe, and I was sitting with Butler, Russell Butler, and Don Bemis. And I was like, "Hey, I don't know if do you guys ever deal with commercial paint?" And they looked at me like I had like 16 eyes on my head or whatever. Like, and they're like, "Do you know what we do? That's what we do. We paint cars, right? Like, we fix and paint cars." And I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Absolutely, we can help you with that." So
Yeah,
Well,
nice.
you
and
just never know.
And I think that's one of the key things is because you at a university, even though these are credit programs, they are a wide resource to pull from all kinds of departments at the university.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So I have a comment on that as well. As Paul had mentioned, we're a university, but we're really unique in the fact that we do have a College of Technology and a continuing education within that university itself. So we have everything from like those 6-week certificates or 6 weeks classes that you might be able to take to upskills to doctoral level programs. And those are a huge range, of course, because it is a research university as well, that Scott has the world at his fingers. He really
Yeah.
has a lot of resources to go and tap into as well. Scott has a military background and a master's in public administration. So his own education is very vast and diverse as well. And I think that's one thing that makes his ability to host very diverse customized training is because he has these very diverse resources available to him for, again, a very, very wide variety of businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also,
absolutely.
Scott is also the guy in charge of the construction combine each year,
Mm.
and I think again he has demonstrated over the time his good problem-solving skills.
Yeah, Paul, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Hey, we're getting close to the end, but you're absolutely right. Construction Combine, which for those of you who've been around, you know it happens every year. It's out at the Home Depot parking lot, doing a great job bringing industry together with students. It's all about kids and vets back then. I've got, holy cow, what an event. And if you don't realize it, that thing got entered into our congressional record. So great leadership on Scott's part, getting that thing started and keeping it going, and how it's spread around the state. And there is something else you don't know about Scott, but he is an Excel teacher for us. He loves to teach. It's yeah, if you get into one of his classes, those things are wild, but he does a great job with it. And of course, for some of you, you've heard him on the Lunch and Learns. He carries out the Lunch and Learns as well every once a month. And those are great ways also to extend outreach here. Scott, before we go, man, and Paul, I know you heard the timers going off.
Yeah.
We got to give Scott an opportunity, and then we'll continue on a little bit, but we'll give Scott an opportunity. If somebody wanted to reach out and find out more about customized training, or, hey, I want to learn more about this, or I might need this, Scott, what would be the best way for them to reach out and get in touch with you? What would you suggest they do?
Well, I would just say this is definitely my email which is just my last first four, so step scott@isu.edu. But if there's one message I want to just get out to the community, to the world, is like, we want to be your training arm, especially to the businesses in the area. We want to be your training arm. And what I mean by that is, if you need training and you're like, you don't know where you're going to get it, call us. If you need someone to do the legwork, call me or email me. That's the best way to get a hold of me right now, is probably my email. Just email me like, hey, we need training in X, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, we've already, we've kind of talked about that here, but just email me and we'll do the legwork. We've got a ton, like I said, just like we've just displayed here, we've got a ton of resources. We've got a cadre of trainers just within Suite. And then, we add the university onto that, and just, I mean, we live in a community that's diverse, that we'll find the person that can provide that training.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Well said. Paul, did you want to add anything before we start closing this up?
No, I just wanted to kind of touch base on those lunch and learns that Scott puts
Mhm.
together.
Mhm.
Those are something that we have about once a month. Is that correct?
Once a month. Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
a month. And
Wednesday, or third
basically
Wednesday.
a lot of his guests are also resources for customized training. So Scott puts together these little training sessions once a month. They're usually something fresh and new. And if you want to check out some of those offerings, please do that.
Great. Well said.
Thank you.
Scott, we're going to have to wrap this up. For a final pitch to those of you who are hearing and seeing this, Scott Stevens his title is a business consultant, but he is so much more than that. As you've heard, his reach is fairly extensive. He's all about training and helping people, and he's such a great fit for us here. And if you need something, if you're just curious, I strongly encourage, reach out to Scott and just even have that conversation. You'll find he's so easy to work with. He's so amenable to trying to get you to where you want to be. And he has a ton of resources to draw on. So thanks to all of you. Thank you, Scott, for making the time to join us just before, kids go back to school, and it's happening here as well. Paul, Angela, thank you for joining us. Paul, we need to wrap this up one more time.
I will wrap us up. Hey, Scott, thank you so much for being on today. Really appreciate it. Now, if you would like to check out our offerings, you can visit our website at cetrain.isu.edu. You can email us at cetrain@isu.edu, and you can give us a call at 208-282-3372. And if you enjoy this content, please like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. And Gary, as always, can't do this without you, man.
Oh man, you're cool. All right.
Man,
Hey, everybody.
man. Get that.
You all be safe
Dig
out
in
there. Have a great weekend.